Alexandra Eala has one of the best second serve returns on tour. It's clear to me that grass suits her game really well, and she is going to be dangerous in Wimbledon. And she is a hard worker as well. She's going to continue to get better, and she will be a factor on the WTA Tour.
She lost, and somehow, that's the least important part of the story. Just days before Wimbledon, Alex Eala walked into Berlin as a wild card and left the entire tennis world stunned. The final result won't be what people remember. What they'll remember is the trail of elite players she tore through, the statement she made, and the warning she just sent to the rest of the tour. She lost, and it honestly doesn't matter. Not in the context of what Alex Eala accomplished this week in Berlin. Not in the context of where she was just 12 months ago. And certainly not in the context of what could be waiting for her at Wimbledon in only 8 days. Yes, she fell to Linda Noskova, 6-2, 6-4, in the semi-final. She was beaten by a player who had already defeated her earlier this season at Indian Wells. She was beaten by someone who simply played the cleaner, sharper match on the day. And she was beaten in a contest that does absolutely nothing to diminish what has been the most remarkable grasscourt week of her career. Alex Eala, 21 years old, world number 35, entered a WTA 500 event in Berlin with a wild card and proceeded to produce one of the most impressive runs of the entire season. She defeated Donna Vekic. She defeated Elena Rybakina. She defeated Elina Svitolina. 3 established stars. 3 straight-set victories. All on grass. All in her tournament debut. Then she ran into Noskova, who executed better when it mattered most, and the run came to an end. That's tennis. And that's perfectly fine. Because what happened before that semi-final may have already changed the trajectory of Alex Eala's career. Let's break down this incredible week properly, because the numbers deserve to be seen in full. First came Donna Vekic. A 7-5, 6-4 victory over the Queen's Club champion. Vekic arrived in Berlin playing some of the best grasscourt tennis of her career, fresh off her title run and carrying enormous confidence after defeating Emma Raducanu in the final at Queen's. Many expected her momentum to continue. Instead, Eala stopped it cold. Then came Elena Rybakina. A 7-5, 6-4 win that turned even more heads. Rybakina wasn't just another top player. She was a former Wimbledon champion, an Australian Open champion, and one of the most dangerous forces in women's tennis. Eala fell behind 1-4 in the opening set, yet somehow found another level, storming back to steal the set before calmly closing out the second. That victory alone would have been enough to make headlines. But she wasn't finished. Next was Elina Svitolina, the Rome Masters champion. A proven veteran. A player ranked among the world's elite. Svitolina raced out to a 4-1 lead and looked ready to take control. For many young players, that kind of start from an opponent would have been overwhelming. Not for Alex Eala. She absorbed the pressure, flipped the momentum, and completely changed the match. The result was a commanding 6-3, 6-4 victory that showcased not only her talent but her growing maturity under pressure. By that point, the tennis world was no longer asking whether Eala belonged at this level. The question had become how far she could go. And that is why the semi-final loss barely changes the bigger picture. What happened in Berlin was larger than a single result. It was larger than one match. It was larger than one disappointing afternoon. This was a breakthrough. A genuine breakthrough. For years, people talked about Alex Eala's potential. They talked about her future. They talked about what she might become one day. In Berlin, she stopped being a future story. She became a present-tense threat. She proved she can beat top players on grass. She proved she can handle pressure on one of the fastest surfaces in the sport. And perhaps most importantly, she proved she can put together multiple elite performances in the same tournament. That changes everything. Because Wimbledon is now only days away. And after what she just accomplished in Berlin, nobody will be looking at Alex Eala as an outsider anymore. They'll be looking at her as a player capable of causing serious damage. The semi-final may have ended the run. But it may also have marked the beginning of something much bigger. She stayed composed even when Svitolina fought her way back into the contest. She managed the pressure, trusted her game, and served out the match when it mattered most. And she beat Svitolina too. Think about that for a moment. 3 consecutive victories over top 10 players. On grass. In just 3 days. As a wild card. At that point, the tennis world had no choice but to pay attention. And now, it can't look away. Eala's 2026 grasscourt record stands at an astonishing 9-1. Her overall season record sits at 27 wins and 15 losses. But those overall numbers don't fully capture what has happened over the last 2 weeks. The grasscourt results tell a far more powerful story. Because these victories didn't come against qualifiers. They didn't come against struggling opponents or players lacking confidence. They came against some of the most accomplished names in women's tennis. Donna Vekic, Elena Rybakina, Elina Svitolina. Grand Slam champions. Top-ranked stars. Elite competitors operating at the highest level of the sport. That's what makes this run so significant. Now let's talk about Linda Noskova, because understanding that semi-final loss is important, not as an excuse, but as context. The statistics reveal exactly why the match unfolded the way it did. Noskova won an incredible 81% of her first serve points and 64% of her second serve points. Those are elite numbers, the kind that make life extremely difficult for any opponent, regardless of form or confidence. Her serve was the defining factor. And this wasn't some unexpected performance from an unproven player. Noskova is the world number 13. Earlier this season at Indian Wells, she defeated Eala 6-2, 6-0 in just 56 minutes. She arrived in Berlin without dropping a single set all week and was playing some of the most efficient tennis of her career. Everything about her game was built on consistency. No wasted points. No emotional swings. No dramatic fluctuations. Just relentless execution. When Eala's serve wasn't landing with the same precision she had shown against Rybakina and Svitolina, and Noskova continued winning more than 80% of her first serve points, the challenge became enormous almost immediately. The mountain was simply too steep this time. But here's what truly matters. Across her 4 matches in Berlin, Alex Eala blasted 84 winners. Noskova, despite reaching the final, produced 79. Let that sink in. Eala finished the tournament as one of the most aggressive players in the entire field. She took the ball early. She stepped inside the baseline. She attacked from both wings. She dictated rallies instead of reacting to them. Again and again, she forced some of the best players in the world onto the defensive. That isn't the profile of a player getting lucky for 1 week. That's the profile of a player discovering exactly how dangerous she can be. And perhaps that's the biggest takeaway from Berlin. The results were impressive. The victories were unforgettable. But the style of tennis was what truly stood out. Alex Eala wasn't surviving matches. She was controlling them. She wasn't hoping opponents would make mistakes. She was forcing those mistakes. And when a young player starts beating elite competition while playing that aggressively on grass, the rest of the tour takes notice. Because talent gets attention. But belief changes everything. And after what happened in Berlin, Alex Eala looks like a player who finally believes she belongs among the very best. That should make Wimbledon a very interesting place next week. She delivered in the biggest moments all week long. Think back to that match against Rybakina. Serving for the match at 15-30, with the pressure mounting and one of the most dangerous players in the world standing across the net, Eala fired an ace when she needed it most. No hesitation. No fear. Just complete belief. Then came the battle against Svitolina. After building a lead, she watched the Ukrainian fight back and close the gap to 5-4 in the second set. The momentum was shifting. The pressure was growing. The crowd could sense the tension. But Eala never blinked. She stayed calm, trusted her game, and slammed the door shut. Those moments matter because they reveal something statistics cannot. They reveal character. The shot-making was spectacular throughout the week, but the mental strength may have been even more impressive. And when Noskova's serve was landing at a percentage that made breaks almost impossible to find, the margin for error simply vanished. Sometimes elite tennis comes down to a few points. This was one of those days. Even so, the bigger picture keeps getting brighter. Eala's record against top 10 opponents now stands at an impressive 5-4 overall and 3-2 during the 2026 season alone. Look at the names she has already conquered. She beat Goff. She beat Paulini. She stunned Swiatek in Miami last year. She has beaten Rybakina twice. She has beaten Svitolina. And with every tournament, that list continues to grow. What once looked like isolated upsets is beginning to look like a pattern. A very dangerous pattern. And nowhere is that more evident than on grass. This surface seems to unlock the very best version of Alex Eala. Everything about her game looks natural here. The timing. The movement. The aggressive ball striking. The willingness to take risks early in rallies. The results back it up. 9 wins from 10 grass court matches in 2026. Just 1 defeat. And that loss came against Linda Noskova, a player who was exceptional on the day and has now beaten Eala twice this season. That's hardly a cause for concern. If anything, it's a reminder of how high the level was in Berlin. Now the focus shifts to Wimbledon. Only 8 days remain. And after this remarkable week, the conversation surrounding Alex Eala has completely changed. Because what exactly does a player arriving at Wimbledon with this level of confidence look like? What does a rising star who just defeated the world number 2 and the world number 8 on consecutive days look like entering the most prestigious tournament in tennis? That's the question everyone is asking. Wimbledon begins on June 29th. This will be only Eala's second appearance in the main draw at the All England Club. Last year was an introduction. A learning experience. A chance to understand the atmosphere, the grass courts, the traditions, the expectations, and the pressure that comes with competing on tennis' grandest stage. This year is different. This year she arrives battle-tested. She arrives after an entire grass court campaign that has transformed her reputation. A title run in Birmingham. A strong showing at Queen's Club. And now a stunning WTA 500 semi-final in Berlin highlighted by victories over some of the biggest names in the sport. Most young players spend years learning how to compete effectively on grass. Eala has accelerated that process dramatically. In many ways, she has already climbed the learning curve that Wimbledon usually demands. And that's what makes her so fascinating heading into the tournament. Her game translates to grass almost perfectly. The compact swings. The ability to take the ball early. The confidence to attack. The quick reactions. The instinctive shot making. All of it becomes even more dangerous on this surface. Which means one thing. Anyone who sees Alex Eala's name appear in their section of the Wimbledon draw next week is going to pay very close attention. Because after Berlin, she is no longer a promising young player hoping to make an impact. She is a proven threat. And for the first time, the rest of the tennis world is starting to believe it too. Perhaps the most encouraging sign from this entire grass court swing has been the evolution of Alex Eala's serve. For months, opponents, analysts, and even coaches pointed to it as the area of her game that still needed the most work. It wasn't a weakness, but it wasn't yet a weapon either. Now, that conversation is beginning to change. In Berlin, Eala averaged 5 aces per match and won 72% of her first serve points. Those numbers may not jump off the page compared to the biggest servers in women's tennis, but they represent something just as important: progress. Real progress. Visible progress. The serve looked more reliable, more confident, and far more effective than it did during the clay season or the early hardcourt months of the year. Is it perfect? Not yet. Is it at the level required to consistently match a player serving as brilliantly as Noskova did in the semi-final? Not quite. But it is unquestionably moving in the right direction. And when you combine an improving serve with Eala's already elite shot-making and court coverage, you begin to see why so many people are suddenly paying attention. Then there's her returning game. The very thing she spoke about before facing Rybakina. She said she needed to be brave. And brave is exactly what she was. You don't come back from 1-4 down against the world number 2 without courage. You don't attack returns under that kind of pressure without complete commitment. Every swing requires conviction. Every point demands belief. Eala showed both. Again and again. That fearlessness has become one of the defining characteristics of her game. Now the focus turns to Wimbledon. The seedings will be finalized, the draw will be set, and Eala, currently ranked number 35 in the world, arrives carrying momentum unlike anything she has experienced before at a Grand Slam. A WTA 125 title in Birmingham. A breakthrough week in Berlin. A semi-final appearance at a WTA 500 event. Victories over some of the biggest names in tennis. This is no longer a player arriving simply hoping to gain experience. This is a player arriving with expectations. She won't be the top seed. She won't be protected from difficult early round opponents. And she almost certainly won't receive any favors from the draw. But here's the difference. This week proved that difficult opponents no longer intimidate her. Top 10 players no longer feel untouchable. Grand Slam champions no longer feel unreachable. Not on grass. Not in this form. Not right now. Yes, she lost to Linda Noskova. And over the next few days, she'll study that match carefully. She'll analyze what went wrong. She'll look for solutions against a serve that dominant and against a player who has now beaten her twice this season. That's what great competitors do. They learn. They adjust. They improve. Then they come back stronger. Eala will train. She will prepare. And in just 8 days, she will walk through the gates of Wimbledon carrying something every dangerous player needs. Belief. The kind of belief that comes from defeating the world number 2 and the world number 8 in the same week. The kind of belief that comes from knowing your game can trouble anyone in the draw. The kind of belief that turns promising players into genuine contenders. The semi-final loss may have brought her remarkable week in Berlin to an end. But it didn't end the story. If anything, it may have been the opening chapter of something much bigger. Because while Berlin is now over, Wimbledon is just beginning. And after what Alex Eala accomplished on the grass courts of Germany, one thing is clear: nobody will be overlooking her anymore. The rest of the tennis world has officially been put on notice. So now the question is yours. How far do you think Alex Eala can go at Wimbledon this year? Can she make a deep run? Can she shock even more top players? Or could this be the tournament where she truly announces herself on the biggest stage in tennis? Let me know your prediction in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our daily tennis coverage. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video.